Tell me, are you ready to find your weird way? Weird was a concept that was spoken of long ago. It meant fate, it meant destiny, it meant your path in life. I'm your host, Dean Bentley, and I am here to explore how you can connect to your own path in life, to know the essence of your own soul, to connect to that single spark that lives within the deepest recesses of your being that says, "This is why I am here," to go beyond the limitations, the constrictions of the modern world, and open you to the possibilities and the potentiality of what is possible within this world. Join me as we dive deep on the weird way. Welcome back, Weird Ways. It is late. It's a Tuesday night as I'm recorded here, and I normally don't do these episodes late. I normally do them when I'm feeling energized, activated, and it was just this feeling that this conversation I've been having over in the Soul Method community has been really, really beautiful and something that has been creating a lot of shifts in people. And this is the attitude of the difference between forcing and allowing something to be cultivated. And this is a big conversation when it comes to the personal development world of there's a lot of bypassing that occurs of just telling people to own their worth, be confident, own who they are. And it can feel a little bit disconnected from the truth of what is happening and the truth of reality. It's the awareness that to actually grow, to create change, it's a slow internal process. And this is the thing, doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound sexy to tell someone, hey, this process is going to take you a little while. It's going to take you devotion to show up to the parts of you that have been rejected, shunned, and pushed away. And that process may take many years. It's not what you want to hear when you're in a place of, I need to change something right now. I need help right now. And this is where a lot of people come from when it comes to healing because they're seeking instant gratification. This is what the culture teaches people is that, oh, you can have it straight away. You don't need to work for this. But the truth of the matter is, if you are seeking instant gratification and an instant healing or a miraculous cure, you are going to build your foundations of self upon something that isn't stable. It's going to be fundamentally flawed because you are going to skip past yourself. You're going to bypass. You're going to try and prove yourself and say, look how great I am. Look how great I am. And this is something I'm aware of from my own journey. It's the awareness that early on I was coaching and I was serving others. And at the moment, I'm going back through and clearing up a lot of the parts of myself that I didn't give space to be healed, to be loved, to be accepted, because I was so intent on creating a result in my business, in my relationship, all of these external factors that had me chasing the carrot on the stick, but hadn't allowed me to settle into myself and actually just be like, oh, I need some time to really acknowledge the pain of childhood, acknowledge the parts of myself that did feel really hurt, and not just from a place of mental awareness. And this is the thing, we have access to so many books that can tell us, hey, you probably had pain in your childhood, and you can begin to articulate this is why this hurt, and this is why that happened. And you had this grief, and you had this anger and resentment towards your parents. But it takes time to actually allow that energy to move through the system, to have a somatic experience that allows the integration process to occur. People want to come into this work and have the click, the thing that changes everything. It doesn't work like that. By believing it works like that, you are disrespecting yourself. It took you however many years you've been on this journey up until this point, up until you began to change, it took you that many years to ingrain these habits, behaviors, and thought patterns. it is going to take you some time to begin to rewire and reset them so that you can be someone else. And this is the conversation I've been having within the Soul Method community because there's been a lot around forcing ourselves into someone. And I had a beautiful session tonight where I was speaking on the shadow and talking about shadow integration. And one of the people in it shared like just how powerful it was to realize that, a conflict they had within themselves was due to a disowned childhood part of themselves. And it was like, there's so much pain and conflict, but the internal voice that was trying not to be a certain way was actually a wounded child. And this is the piece. Often, how our thoughts show up, if you watch your thoughts for long enough, you'll see them wanting to protect you, they're wanting to keep you safe, they're telling you to be more like something else, whatever it is, they can say in a number of different ways. They're telling you to be a certain way or do a certain thing. And it's like, it can get really annoying and you want to tell them to shut up. That's what I do. I'm like, at times I want to tell them to shut up. And just like actually, when you slow down, and this has been my practice, the more I've slowed down and given them space and being curious about, hey, why am I thinking that? Why is that thought showing up in the way that it is? What is it trying to tell me? And the more awareness I give it, the more I realize that thought is coming from a child of myself, inner child who may have been wounded in some way, who thought he had to be a certain way to get love, who put himself in a box because he thought, if I am just like this is how I'm going to get love and validation. And until I actually acknowledged, that was a wounded part. I need to slow down and be with that and meet that thought pattern, which is an energetic representation of that little child. Well, that's when the healing really begins because it's like that part gets some love, gets a little bit of a cuddle and said, hey, everything's going to be okay. And until we do that, well, if you think of the structure of the psyche, and when I say psyche, I mean the whole self, I don't just mean the mental aspects. If I think of psyche as the entire field of a person, if there's this wounded child that lives within the foundations of the structure of self, which happens in a lot of personal development where we're really pushing to get to the next thing, Tony Robbins, hoorah, let's go. There's a wounded child at the bottom. Well, it creates an unstable foundation. If there's a crack, that child can come out and be angry, it can have a tantrum, it can throw its weight around and knock down the whole foundations of the building, which happens a lot if you see people having big ups and downs and they're going through spirals and they're constantly processing. Well, underneath all of that, there's often an inner child that hasn't been loved and had their parent come online who can continue to provide validation and love and support and create a stable environment. People are just constantly cycling because there is a big wound there. They haven't given time and space to do what it takes to actually heal. People are seeking that big experience where suddenly after that they're healed. And this is the annoyance. This is a frustration for myself. What this does is then tell others that they need to rush this process, they need to have a big experience. And for context, I'm someone who has done nearly every initiatory experience that I know of. I've done vision quests, I've done various plant medicine, I've done a lot of yoga, meditation, men's work. Like I've done a lot of different things, and they've all been really beautiful experiences that have allowed deep healing and deep integrations within myself. And it's also been their consistent practices that I bring into the everyday, that I bring into healing myself and holding myself outside of these experiences in the everyday reality that creates massive difference because on a fundamental level, I'm changing who I'm being. I'm installing new programs of how I treat myself when I need care, kindness, compassion. And this allows transformation. It's not on I go have a big experience and I leave all that on the mountain. It's actually integrating that experience into my everyday so I can begin to teach and embody that in a deeper way. It's how we bring the information from the mountaintop into our reality that really creates the difference. And when people are seeking a peak experience and again, well, and I know I've done this, it's often because they're running from the problems in their life and they think that the peak experience will give them the solutions to their problems. Actually, it's going to require work, and this is confronted. And this is something for many of us, and we need patience. We need to actually learn that what you want to build is going to take time. Your healing is going to take time. And if you allow yourself to be with the process, you will create change. But if you continuously feel like you need to do more, push yourself beyond your limits, you are going to come up against this unstable foundations where you're pushing past your inner child, which is causing you to collapse. And this is what I've seen in myself as I've gone deeper on this healing journey. I've wanted to go back to where I've been hustling, where I've been pushing, working 12-hour days in my business, create money. And I've had to scale that back to be more direct with my energy, be more precise, and use less of it. It's very tempting to try and do as much as I did before, and my conditioning is untangling from that of I need to do as much. I'm learning about leveraging and building my business ecosystem to really support people long term and building a solid foundation within my environment and in my service, and also opening bigger opportunities in the long term. But until that occurs, there's foundations that need to be built. If we don't do this, well, we collapse. If we push past that child, we collapse. It's about coming into alignment with these parts of ourselves that do need love, that do need care, and they need it consistently. It's not okay to just give them love once off. It doesn't actually do anything. You can just create more wounding because it's like, well, okay, yeah, I've shown up for you and now I'm going to leave. See the problem? That could have been the original trauma. That could have been the pain of abandonment. It's no, you need to be the person that is showing up for yourself consistently. And that doesn't mean you need to always be perfect and always get it right. Cut out that bullshit, but actually come into relationship. What does it look like to be your own parent, your own best friend? It's like some days as a parent, you need to be like, hey, go have some fun, go get wild, go get messy, do whatever the fuck you need to do. Or you need to be like, hey, you need to sit down and get this done. You need to do what's in front of you and commit to doing this. And once you do that, you can go have free time. You need boundaries, structure, support, healthy habits that support the growth of who you want to be. These are all important things that allow you to build the stable personality and the stable character of yourself so you can go out into the world and create what you want. And this is going to require the deconstruction of the mentality of force, which is a program within the collective consciousness that you need to do more, you need to push, you always need to be working. No, that is the child who thought that was how they get love. You need to be with that child and allow them to slow down, allow them to pause so that no longer you're caught in that same structure of pushing, running, and actually taking a step back and allowing yourself to be. Because from that state of being, you have conscious agency to choose what you want to create. If you're in business, that means you will create more possibilities because you'll be more inspired and coming from a clear channel. If you're in relationship, it means you'll show up more lovingly in your relationship where your family dynamics aren't playing out in the same ways. If you're just with yourself, it means you'll like yourself better, which for me is a big Finn, I want to like myself. I want to like myself more. And we can do that by just showing up for us over time. So it's going to take time and it's going to take consistency. It's going to take showing up for it again and again and allowing yourself to heal over time. This is why I've built the Soul Method community because I've realized this is something that's not talked about within healing spaces. Yes, I'll be running programs, I'll be working with people in smaller containers and one on one work where people can really go deep and deep into their wounds and really express something, but to have a container that people can return to that's accessible and has a level of longevity to it. This is why it's grown into a school and going to have various teachings, a lot of powerful courses for people to come experience because it creates that longevity and it also creates that healing over time where people have a space where they get to open, where they get to feel themselves, where they get to be like, oh, this is kind of my home and I get to belong and have tribe and community. So if you want to join that, you can find that in the show notes below and come join us. It's a beautiful space. We, at the moment, on the day of this, I teach twice a week in there. One is a live teaching where I'm running a course of the soul method, and the other is an embodiment practice where we're coming into relationship with the body and feeling our emotions and being in our emotions. And it's just a really, really beautiful experience. You can check out more of that in the show notes. And that's all I'm going to jam on tonight. So thank you all, Weird Ways. Let me know what lands. Let me know where you are on your journey. I'd love to hear from you and I'd love to have you in our community. Peace out.